Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of FMU Unplugged. My name is Kia. I am one of your hosts. I am currently a communications major with a focus in TV broadcast. And welcome to FMU Unplugged, where we keep things unfiltered and most importantly, real.
Hello guys, how are you guys doing today? I am Shandler. I am one of your hosts today, and I am a communication major with a focus in public relations. I just love being a part of this podcast, and I love what we've done so far with it. And today we have with us a special guest, Devon Merret, and Pastor.
Yes, greetings everyone. My name is Devon Merret. I serve as the Director of Academic Outreach and Dual Enrollment here at Florida Memorial University, and I'm also serving as the Interim Director of our Career Center. Super excited to have this conversation and be a guest on this podcast. Some great things are happening, and I'm excited to contribute to that and keep it going.
Let's give it up for Devon Merret. All right, so today the topic of discussion is how do we turn our paychecks our passions into paychecks. I feel like as a junior, I'm still struggling to find my way into how do I get into a field like PR, into public relations. Like how do we do that? So that's the reason why I'm like, if me, somebody that from the start, from really junior year of high school, I was like, okay, I want to be in PR. I already had that lined up. I didn't have to switch up my majors, nothing like that. Really, it was really a smooth ride. I know a lot of people are still trying to figure out what they want to do. Right. So if I'm still having that conversation in my head, I'm still struggling to find my path. I can't even begin to imagine how other students that are now finding, switching up their majors and finding what they really want to do, how they really feel about that. So, my first question's for you.
Before we even get into the questions, for students who basically have no knowledge of what academic outreach and what it is that you do, can you explain that to them?
Yeah, definitely. So the Academic Outreach Office is actually housed within Academic Services, which is underneath the Office of the Provost. But essentially, we are hyper-focused on experiential learning, enrichment opportunities that can connect some of the things happening in the classroom to career pathways. So that is one of the areas that we focus on, but getting more detailed, it looks like pre-college success initiatives, such as our Achieve, Inspire, Mastery, Aim Higher program, dual enrollment course offerings that we offer throughout Miami-Dade County Public Schools. But then when we look at the Center for Career Services and Workforce Development arm, that really is focused on exposure, experiences, internship opportunities, soft skill development, workshops, which, I have the opportunity to share more about as we get into the conversation. But essentially, all things that lead to post-graduation success is an area that we emphasize and focus on.
Yeah. Talking about academic outreach, I feel like I know because we had conversation before, and you have told me that you guys have a lot of programs ready and set up for students, whether you're looking for internships. I wanted to know what are specific programs or opportunities does academic outreach offer the student that they don't really use.
Yeah, so we're fortunate to have a number of partners externally, locally in the community and beyond that really are committed to providing experiences and opportunities to our Lions here. In addition to that, there's some systems that have also been put in place to kind of streamline how effective we can be with those type of situations. One of them being a platform called In Place, which is a database we most recently launched that all FMU students have access to. You can log into this platform using your credentials, so your email address and password that you use to access everything else FMU related can give you access to this database as well. And essentially this portal, it really streamlines the internship process from exploring and seeking out and searching what opportunities are available to actually applying for the ones that are most aligned with your interests, to then even being able to effectively manage how that process goes once you do begin an internship, as far as reporting and just logging certain things and being able to translate that opportunity into hopefully gainful employment and full-time opportunities at the end of that experience. So that is one of the strategies that we've deployed most recently, but In Place is something that's up and running. We have a number of ways that we are kind of integrating that into the classroom. So working very closely with faculty to provide information sessions and just overall best practices usage tutorials, so that way we can most effectively gain from these type of systems.
Yeah. When we during one of the conversation we had, I remember it was like right after that In Place was launched, and to be honest, I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and they still didn't know about In Place. I know I remember receiving the email about In Place and how to sign up and stuff like that. But that's also one thing that I feel like students need to pay a closer attention to their emails. Like, I get that we do receive a lot of emails and about different events going on campus, but you guys students, you have to really pay close attention to your emails, because there are a lot of very useful information out there that you're not really getting because you are somewhat ignoring your emails. So yeah, that's one thing I was gonna say about In Place.
And I think that's a great point. In addition to that, what I am super focused on is sometimes maybe challenge my colleagues to continue to do as well is we can bring information in a variety of ways. So we know emails can sometimes get overwhelming. You can be you can have a influx of emails, and
we do receive a lot of them.
From faculty, from support staff, and all the different areas that we have on campus. So it's understandable how things can sometimes slip through the cracks. But I think us continuing to evolve our touch points, whether that's bringing information directly to the class, to the housing and residence life areas, to the student activity areas, and every space that we have on campus that we know is being utilized, even the CAF. I think there's a lot of ways that we can continue to expand our outreach efforts to make sure that it's coupled. So the emails, yes, for sure, we want to make sure we stay on top of those and pay attention, but there are a variety of ways to be exposed to all of the resources that we have on campus, and that's something that we're actively working on as a faculty and staff here.
I know on the welcome page on Blackboard, there is this, I don't remember, why do we have on there? I don't think we have anything on there.
It's basically like it tells you sometimes like very big stuff that are happening. I know, like, for sure they had told about us for our emails, like it went from FMU UNIV to FMU .edu.
Yeah.
They talk about that. I think it's something else that they had like a very important like event that they were going to have on campus as well. But I don't think it's not updated as often as I think it should be, though.
Yeah, because I think you guys could use that little portal, who could say, and add In Place there, like as a ad, quote unquote, and you can because we are on Blackboard every day because you got to get the assignment done, so because once you log into Blackboard, it's the first page you get to, and then if you see In Place there, you're gonna get curious and you're trying to get to know what it is.
100%, and I think in addition to those strategies we just discussed, another thing that we're actively doing is really emphasizing what is the value add, right? Because we can see a million emails and we can see things plastered all over, but if at the individual level as students, it's a disconnect between the information that's being presented and how is this valuable to me? What is the return on investment from my engagement with this type of opportunity that you're putting in front of me? I'm a 2-time HBCU alum, right? So I can very easily remember what it's like being an HBCU student, even though that was a very long time ago. But nonetheless, I connected most with things that I could personally understand what the benefit and value was, more than it being a punitive thing where, hey, you need to do this, otherwise here comes the consequences. Yeah. Right. We want to move away from that, right? So I think, again, the onus doesn't necessarily fall on you all as young scholars, I think it's a collective effort, but more so from our end as administrators, as faculty, as staff, what are we doing to really express transparently how much value this really holds? Because once we've all stepped into the professional space, it's clear for us to see, oh yeah, nah, this is something I want to act on now, immediately.
Yeah.
But we're at different chapters of our life, and we're at different places of our journey and storybook. So I think not catching amnesia and being forgetful, but putting ourselves into a different mindset and really understanding where you all are can help us connect that information in a more useful way, to where when opportunities are put forward, it's not necessarily required to be incentivized, right? Like, you all would independently see, oh, hold on, wait, this is what's going on in this area.
Yeah.
Let me register.
Of course. What does a day-to-day life, like, what does a day-to-day look like in the office of academic outreach?
Yeah, every day I start off, I like to eat. And, and yes, we do need to nourish ourselves in the physical manner, but I more so mean that as an acronym. So my day, the first hour usually starts off with emails, administrative business, and then tasks, EAT.
That's very creative.
So every morning, the same way you want to make sure that you have your breakfast and you fill your body, so that way you have sustenance to maintain throughout the day. A part of my structure for the office is to begin with making sure no emails are overlooked. If there's anything administratively that needs to be handled from the business standpoint of things, that's addressed. And then tasks, making sure that whatever the to-dos are clearly outlined, and that we have a nice workflow to make sure that everything is crossed off. From there, I utilize a lot of the tools that we all have access to, right? So our Microsoft Outlook has a very effective calendar, and just really committing to carving out what the day will look like. We have to be flexible, because a lot of times there'll be things that cause you to deviate from that strict schedule.
Of course.
But just doing a very thorough job of making sure that we have a clear vision on what needs to be done, what tasks need to be completed, what's going to be the most impactful, and then having that be a guide or a map or compass to go throughout the day is how I start. Now, with that being said, there's usually a lot of off-campus engagements. For example, today, the city of Miami Gardens, who we collaborate with as a university, had a college expo and scholarship party, really engaging the high schools in the feeder pattern. A lot of times we have events such as that we want to have a presence in, and that's a collaboration with our Office of Admissions and other units that we have here on campus. But it's a mix of internal meetings, external partnership explorations on how we can bring more things to support student success, off-campus engagements and events, and everything in between.
I really love how active, from what I've seen so far, like, as of lately, I've seen the school is being very active in the community, and I really love it, because when you're researching about Florida Memorial University, like, first thing to tell you is, like, we are a core part of this community that we are in, which is Miami Gardens. So I really do love and appreciate when you guys are actually going out there and grabbing people by the hand and say, hey, look, this is how we can improve.
Absolutely. And I think that speaks to us being a mission-based institution, right?
Yeah.
So all things that we're doing have to connect, yes, to the strategic plan and to all of the key performance indicators and all of those great things. But at its core, what's the mission? What are we here for, right? And we all know the mission of the university, hopefully.
Yeah.
But living that out requires us to engage with our community and beyond. And then even broader than our individual institutions' mission, I think a lot about historically Black colleges and universities and the role that it plays, not only on the national scale, but in the global ecosystem, right? So we are positioned to have a significant impact. We've seen it. I mean, the civil rights movement. How many things were born from, students and faculty and staff that were a part of this HBCU fabric. So if we're doing that at the highest level, I don't think it's possible to accomplish without being tapped in and fully engaged with your community.
Yeah. And talking about helping people find their ways into society. Like I mentioned earlier, some student don't most not even some like a very like a vast majority of students don't really know what they want until like mid second year or third year. So how do you guys help these students that are basically lost? How do you guys help them in finding their path into the college?
For sure. I don't want to misquote any statistics and miscite any research, but I think the national average is somewhere around 3 to 5 times that students at the undergraduate level are switching their major before degree completion. So I just wanted to lead with that to share that it's not uncommon to still be exploring what exact field we want to be in as we are taking classes and completing all of those general education requirements. But some of the things that we're doing here in academic services, for example, one initiative is academic speed dating, right? So we know we have the University Experience course, FMU 101, that all first-year students are required to complete. Yeah. And embedded into the fabric of that, this year we launched an academic speed dating type of session to where all of the majors that the university offers were represented. And we were able to convene all of our first-year students to explore and rotate in similar fashion to dating, right? And getting a feel for what would be the best partnership. We have something very similar that we do with our degree offerings. Mm-hmm. That, in addition to having clarity around our degree trees and really showing the progression of all of the course work that will be required for completion in a particular area, is something that our advising team is working diligently at to make sure that we're communicating that best. We're coupling that with experiential learning, so that way, as you are exploring, you can attend something such as the Black Professionals Network that we were able to take students from the School of Business and our athletics department to a few weeks ago, which was led by Dr. Kanasha Paul, who also heads our Center for Entrepreneurship within the School of Business. But I think exposure leads to expansion. So the more that we can expose the different offerings that we have, the pathways to industry that each one of these majors connect with, I think that reduces some of the static and noise that we hear in the national discourse about what is the value of a college degree right now. Well, we know that there's value behind that, and I could be biased speaking from an educator's standpoint, right? Yeah. But nonetheless, there's significant data.
There is value in education. Like,
correct.
Without education, we were just
can't dispute that.
We're not any different than any like animals and jungle and stuff like that.
100%. So I think us continuing to work in those type of ways intentionally reduce some of the confusion with students who are still uncertain about what degree pathway to take.
So how can students be more, I feel like using what you said, like the speed dating, that is one way that they could be more intentional about, I guess you could say, balancing like their responsibilities. But on the other hand, how can students be even more intentional about not only balancing like academic responsibilities, but then we offer extracurricular sports, different clubs, and then jobs, because not everybody is blessed enough to be funded by, I guess you could say, financial aid or parents or whatnot. So, and then personal life. So we're balancing personal life, jobs, academics, extracurriculars. What way would you say is a good way for students to be more intentional about balancing that, and how can they map that out?
That is a great question, because there's a lot going on, right? We understand life. So it's going to take some compartmentalization, right? And being able to have isolated and carved out times for each one of the areas of our life that holistically bring us wellness. We don't want to excel in academics, but then have everything else crumble. Yeah. So I would encourage us to continue to stay engaged, but also, in addition to time management strategies and skills, making sure that those things are adhered to, really being as curious as possible, asking as many questions as possible, so that way we can best decide what type of opportunities we want to engage with, creating boundaries and being able to say no, so that way the things that we do want to say yes to, we have the bandwidth and we have the space to be able to allocate towards it.
Yeah, it's basically getting your priorities straight, to be honest.
For sure.
I played soccer, right? I played soccer. I got a job outside campus, and I also have a job on campus, right? And I'm still balancing 5 classes. My relationship, whatever. Um, it's it gets hard. It gets challenging sometimes. But as long as you can keep your head straight and okay, this is the priority for right now, and like I said, carve out the time for these specific activities, and you can do all of them, but you really have to be like, hey, there's a time for everything. You really have to have your head on your shoulders and make sure that you're getting everything that is that priority done first, and then everything else can wait.
100%. Time and a place for everything under the sun, and time management is a skill, right? So the same way how we would physically train in the gym and build muscle, I think doing things to actively develop the skill to be able to prioritize things in the most effective manner for each of us individually is also a helpful strategy to be able to juggle all those things. The tuba was actually my ticket to higher education, so a marching band scholarship opened the door for me to attend my HBCU, and in that commitment, time-wise, it helped develop that skill to be able to prioritize class time, practice time, and everything in between. So ditto to everything you just said.
Yeah, thank you. So now let's say that in college you were somewhat successful. You got your degree, right? So now going into the quote unquote real world, because I think real life started like ever since you graduated high school.
So post graduation.
Yeah. So post graduation, let's say I'm a PR major. Post graduation, let's say I some way somehow failed to get an internship that would have guaranteed me a job right out of college. What do you think? What do you think the steps should be? Because the job market is saturated, and we have a lot of graduating seniors and stuff like that. So how do you think they should step into the real world? And
Yep, definitely. So, in addition to some of the things you just mentioned, internship experiences along the way are great. Those help kind of catapult us into those career spaces. But I would also encourage us to focus on what skills are transferable. When we do get into these interviews and the quote unquote real world where we start to seek out some of these opportunities, one of the first questions we'll get asked is, tell me a little bit about your background and the experiences you've had. If those work opportunities were limited, if those internship opportunities were limited, you got your degree, right? So that means you've completed a number of courses that are specific to your field, your major. I call everybody on campus a scholar, and I know sometimes it can be annoying or funny, but I say that intentionally because a scholar is a specialist in a particular area or discipline, and I mean that. That's how I see every last one of you all. So honing in on that, okay, I've completed these courses, these projects, these things that are transferable to these industries. Also, broadening the scope a little bit. So if there's something adjacent, it may not be the entry-level career field that you intended on, but still being able to seize an opportunity, transfer some of those skills that you've gained from your academic coursework that has been rigorous, and being able to demonstrate success, just getting things done, getting things across the goal line, mastery. All of those things are broad themes that can apply to a variety of industries. So I think being able to recognize opportunities outside of what you may have initially intended, getting your feet planted in those, standing in confidence on what you've already learned, and being able to leverage that would be keys to success, regardless of your major.
I think one big part of finding your way into the real world is a part of it is really your professors, right? I feel like the more that you are connected with your professors, just by sometimes it's really that simple by just showing up to class on time, by showing up to class and just having after class have a casual conversation with your professor. They'll get to know you a little bit more, and I feel like by connecting with your professors, you are opening yourself up to more opportunities career wise. Because you're not gonna stay here forever. Shout out, Professor Motley. But you're not gonna stay here forever, and I think just connecting with your professors and just showing up to class, getting your assignments done, asking for feedback, I think like asking for feedback is one thing because not everybody like to hear that what they are doing wrong. But I love hearing like, oh, you are doing this wrong, and I'll know, okay, I won't take it as offense, but I'm like, okay, he's a professional, right? He knows what he's doing. He's my professor, and let me take in all the criticism, and hone it and just like improve this. And your person will always be. They always like want you to improve. Like
They want you to succeed. That's
of
another
course.
thing I also like when he does that, because then it gives you the opportunity. Okay, so what can I do better? Or he'll be like, instead of doing this, you can do this, and then that way, this is the result that you get, which I think is very much helpful for not only just in our case, but for a lot of other students, because that gives the opportunity. Now you're connecting with your professor. Now you're connected to a lot more possibilities that you wouldn't even have thought of. And I think that's really the beauty of networking, because networking is just something that's very important, not only just in college. It really starts before college, if you really think about it, and then you really hone in on it during college. And I know FAM gives a lot of opportunities for us to network with a lot of different people within like job possibilities and etc.
Yeah.
But I love networking.
Yeah, for example, like today, before starting the podcast, we had like about 5 tries before we actually get it right.
Yeah.
And that's all because of the feedback he gave us. We still didn't get it perfectly, but it's an improvement. It's a step towards, getting better and owning the skills.
For sure. I think a clear advantage that we all have being at a HBCU is the culture, right? And a part of that culture is the connectivity that we have with our professors, with staff. The relationships that you form are meaningful inside and out of the classroom. And a lot of times those relationships will help catapult you into different career opportunities and spaces. I'll go ahead and brag on our faculty and staff that we have here at FMU. A lot of them are, in my opinion, a little too humble, because they have a lot of great stuff going on that can be communicated and amplified, I think, a little bit louder to really make those connections even stronger for the students that we serve. To let them know a plethora of opportunities that exist from our own experiences, yes, but then also it can be through a colleague. It can be through all these other channels. So definitely utilizing those office hours, definitely hanging back a little bit after class, getting there a little bit early. Doesn't even have to be something too lengthy, but a few moments of intentional conversation to really build a relationship, the same way you do with your peers, the same way you do with your significant others. If you don't talk to them for a long time, what happens? The thing gets kind of cold, right? If you leave somebody on red too many times, it might not blossom into what you want it to. So I think us honing in on that networking skill, as you rightfully mentioned, and then also understanding that our professors have our best interests at heart and maybe have seen things that we haven't yet, and how can we leverage that is super critical. I wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for professors that poured into me. So, yeah, shout out to the culture. HBCUs have that embedded into our fabric.
For sure. I feel like both me and Kia got attacked by different people in red and stuff, undelivered. Yeah. But on a serious note, we mentioned graduating college. Okay, so now when you entering the job market, right? What are skills that you think students should develop to stay competitive in that job market that is so saturated, as we all know?
Yeah. I think being true to yourself is something that is going to stand out. We have all, to a certain extent, I think, replicated certain models that we've seen successful and try and duplicate those strategies in order to be successful as well. But truly being confident based off of the amount of work and time that you put into your specific niche, and really being able to articulate that well. And then in addition to articulating that well, in not necessarily seeking out the titles or the most fancy assignment, but whatever we do have the opportunity to engage in and do, knock it out the park, do it extremely well at any level. I think that leads to growth in a healthy way, and whoever is involved in that organization, especially at the decision-making level, who notices that, would happily propel the person that projects a can-do spirit forward. So those are some of the things I definitely advocate and recommend, in addition to everything else that we discussed, such as the internship experiences and other enrichment opportunities throughout your undergraduate experience.
With that being said, what's a final message or a final piece of guidance that you would give to all FMU students? Well, not even FMU students alone, but like college students in general, that's all listening.
Stay positive and stay engaged. I say engaged specifically because there are so many resources and things that are available to us, but if they're underutilized, then it's almost wasteful, right? So I would just keep a positive mindset and outlook, and then in addition to that frame of thought, be engaged. When you see opportunities that you're curious about, ask questions. When professors are sharing information of things that are happening in the community and beyond in your career pathway, engage with them. Not saying you have to attend everything and overexert yourself, but if you do make a commitment to stay engaged, I think that will most definitely lead you to success as you define it, because we know for each person that's going to look different. But if you're persistent and consistent, that's my formula to equal success. And a part of that, a huge component, is making sure that you stay engaged, locked in with your peers, with professionals who are around you, your community, and understand that you're not on an island by yourself, but there are many, 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 many people who are in your corner and supporting that success. So stay engaged and stay positive.
Thank you for this. What is one way that student can contact your office if they need help with advising, stuff like that?
Yep, the Career Center is open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can reach us via email at careercenter@fmu.edu. There's an open door policy, but you can also schedule an appointment, right? If you'd like a specific advising session, and we can chart out what your goals are, do some assessments, and move forward from there with an individualized plan. But just feel free to stop by the Career Center. We're in the Lehman Building, room 107 on the first floor.
Thank you. You heard it here. Make sure you guys get your stuff on track. We are getting near to, finals week. That's next week. So, get to your books.
Good luck, Lion.
Good luck. There you have it for Devon Merret.
Thank you all for having me.
Thank you
guys
for
keep up
coming.
the great work.
Thank you.
It's been real. It's been nice. I'm Shandler, and
it's your girl Kia.
And that was FMU Unplugged.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.